All right, one thing I've noticed from being an appointment setter for 2 years, right, is that dating and sales, and appointment setting and sales specifically, are largely the same, right? Now, this is a bit of a ridiculous video. It's quite silly, but some of you guys might find it funny. There's something that I was speaking about with my friends a couple of weeks ago, and it's uncanny how similar appointment setting and cold approach actually are, right? So let's get into it, right? Let's run you through my theory. So with appointment setting, this tracking sheet, right, that I specifically use to track my leads and my calls, there are 5 stages, right? We've got the stage one is the first initial touch point, first message being sent. Stage 2 is when they've actually asked more information, they replied positively, right? Stage 3 is when they've actually, wanted to book in a call and you send them the calendar link. Stage 4 is when they actually book in the call, and stage 5 is when the deal closes, right? Now, what I've noticed with dating as well, right, just is so largely similar. If you are cold approaching, if you want to go and do cold approach for whatever reason, right, you can go and do that. What you can do is create this tracking. Please don't create a tracking sheet for your cold approach. Please don't do it. This is for entertainment purposes only, right? Please don't be that guy that is going around doing cold approach with this little tracking sheet, tracking his little KPIs and metrics about whether girls replied to him or not. Please don't go and do that. This is just a joke and a laugh, right? To show you how sales and dating are quite similar. Please don't go around with this sheet, please. Okay? Right. Anyway, stage 1. Okay? So, like I said, this is when the actual initial touch point has been initiated. So, for example, you could be sending a message to a lead, right? A new follower saying, hey, and you pitch them, right? And for women, that could be you fancy some girl or boy, whatever you're into, right? And you have a specific script that you're using or approach. Now, what's going to happen is you're either going to get interested people or not interested people. And the interested people, well, the non-interested, you're going to just mark in red. So, for example, little Timmy, agency owner, little Timmy, wasn't interested and he called you a rude word, right? Or, for example, you went up to Samantha and she made retching noises at you like you were disgusted and your breath stunk, right? Not interested, okay? Whereas you may have some people, whether that be a lead or a woman that you go up to, that is interested and they want to kind of speak to you further. Well, they go into stage number 2, which is the positive reply stage, okay? And what we're going to have here is a conversion rate from stage 1 to stage 2. Right, and we call this stage 1 to stage 2. First, touch point initiated to what information wanted to be sent. We call this positive reply rate. Now, you may have a KPI to hit of like 10% with sales. Ideally, that you want to be hitting that 10%. With women, don't ask me. I have no clue. Right, this is just a joke. I have no idea. There isn't KPIs for positive replies you get on your cold approach. Right. Maybe I shouldn't even make this video. Right, okay. Maybe that's my sign. 10% battery. Okay, anyway. So, essentially, you are going to get people who are interested or not interested. And if they're interested, they're going to go to this stage here and you're going to get a conversion rate there, okay? And if it's above 10%, your approach works very well. If it's below 10%, it's not working very well. You need to adjust this stage here. Now, that's where where the bottleneck is. If it's not flowing from this stage to this stage very well, you need to edit something in this stage, which could be the pitch you're using for the leads. Maybe your profile looks terrible. Maybe your business has got a bit of a scammy kind of vibe about it. Or maybe for the women's side of things, maybe your breath stinks. Maybe you are dressed like a tramp. Maybe you were quite rude when you said it. Maybe your script was very demeaning. I don't know. Okay, so you're going to see for sales, right, and for women, if your cold approach or your cold DM efforts aren't going from stage 1 to stage 2 where they're actually interested in learning more, then there's something you need to fix in here, which are those variables that I just listed. Now, if they are in stage number 2, okay, this is where the prospect is going to ask for more information. You're going to send like a VSL or a video. You're going to explain to them like kind of what you do and how you can help. And for the women's side of things, they might be like, oh, what's your name? If they want to know a bit more about you, you can have kind of like a question. What do you do for work? All of this kind of stuff, the base level, kind of like conversation points. Cool. Okay, so that's a positive reply stage. Now from there, Well, for the cold leads and for the actual sales side of things, there is the next stage, stage 3, where you actually send a calendar link to book in a call. And now for that, there's going to be a certain amount of people who are interested that actually do go on to ask to book in a call, or you ask if you can book in a call and they say yes, and you send the calendar link, right? Calendar links in stage. And for women, maybe you're interested and you want to kind of like, take them out for a date and they say, no, I've got a boyfriend, or no, I'm not interested. Well, if it's flowing from here to here, okay, you're in the KPI of at least 10%, right? Again, I don't know that for women, let's say for sales, for this example, right? But then all of a sudden, from here to here, it's not working. With sales specifically, if you didn't have this sheet, you wouldn't know where your issue was. You'd think, oh, maybe my script doesn't work, and you'd be editing stuff here when you should actually be editing stuff here, like the information you're sending, maybe your VSL was too long, maybe the VSL didn't go through, maybe the offer isn't relevant. And again, for women, maybe again your breath stinks, maybe you're boring, maybe you don't, maybe you were quite sexist, maybe you said something controversial. It doesn't matter. Something is in this stage that you need to fix, and you're going to see that based on the low conversion rates from each stage. Okay, so let's say you do go onto this stage, right? This is where like you've sent the lead, the candidate to book in a call, and from here you propose the idea of having a date with this woman, right? And you ask for a number, and you have the idea of setting up a date somewhere, right? And they're all interested, they want to book in a call, they want to go on a date with you, whatever. But then all of a sudden, it's been flowing fine from stage 1 to stage 3 so far, but all of a sudden you can't actually book in the call, like it's not actually getting booked in, or the date's not actually being set up. Now, if the call's not being booked in, right, then there's something wrong with maybe the calendar link you're sending. Maybe it takes them to a different page. Maybe the questions that you're asking on the page are too personal. Maybe it's too long. Maybe maybe their internet's down. I don't care. There's something in here that you need to fix. There's a variable in here. And it's in here because the conversion rates from stage 1 to 2 to 3 are fine, but from stage 3 to 4, it's not working. So that it's not your script like you may feel it might be from the beginning stages. It's something in this stage specifically here that is going wrong. So again, maybe it was going really well. Then you said let's go on a date, and you tried to. You said let's go to McDonald's or something terrible, right? Maybe you said something like that, or maybe you were too forward too quickly. Maybe you said, oh, let's have a date in like round my house straight away, and she found that too. She found that too direct. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's clearly something wrong that you're doing here, okay? With sales and with women. Like, if it's going fine from stage 1 to 3, and then all of a sudden, like here, it's not working, there's something wrong with what you're doing. Maybe you're proposing somewhere that's not very fancy, right? Like McDonald's. Or maybe, for example, in here, with the sales side of things, the calendar link you're sending doesn't actually work, or the questions you're asking are too personal, right? Now, let's say you fixed that, right? You've got some people to book in the call. Amazing, right? Now it can go deeper than this. It can go like sharp rates and good fit rates, right? I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but sharp rate, of course, is like how many of the leads in the sales side of things actually show up to the call, and then also how many of the leads that show up were actually a good fit for the product, right? Well, there's going to be like rates on that. Now, for the women's side of things, sharp rate, again, how many women actually stand you up? Like, let's say you book in a date somewhere at 7 p.m, this fancy restaurant, she doesn't show up. Yeah, that's going to be kind of like your sharp rate, okay? You're going to track how many people actually show up, okay? And there's going to be a good fit rate, something like, maybe you get on the date and you don't really vibe. It's just not really going very well. You don't actually have a lot in common. It's not a good fit. That's basically what I mean, okay? Now, so let's say that you've got the call booked in. There's now another stage, and that's going to be sale call closed, right? Conversion rate. Now, this could be, for example, closing the deal and actually having the partnership with the client, signing the client, right? For sales. And then for women, it's getting a girlfriend or boyfriend, again, whatever you're into, okay? I don't really care. So that's like partnering up and closing the deal and becoming a client. So partnering up and getting in a relationship, it goes really well. You're it's a good fit. You've had the date. You get on really well, and you want to start this partnership and be together. Great. Okay. There's going to be a conversion rate on that as well. Of like, here we go. So we've got 3 people that actually booked on the call. One of them closed. We have a 0.33% closing rate. So yeah, you're going to be able to see kind of like where the issue is. Now this is like specifically really good for sales because you can see where, like, for example, let's say it's flowing really well through these stages, and then all of a sudden randomly from this stage here to this stage here doesn't work, you're not going to know unless you track it and see the metrics. Okay. And again, with women, it's largely similar. If you're doing cold approach, like if that's how you spend your time, right? If that's how you spend your entire day, just cold approaching women at at the mall, right? That's a bit of an American term. Just cold approaching strangers and women in shopping centres. Some people actually spend their days, like their entire day, doing that, which is I find funny. But let's say you're a cold approach, enthusiast, and you really want to get loads of dates and whatever. Oh my god, should I make this video? I don't know. If you were hypothetically to use this sheet, right, and adjust bottlenecks based from it, right? Obviously, going back to each day, seeing where the conversion rate's lacking, and then changing the variables and going again and trying to, increase the conversion rates and the KPIs. That will work, just like it does in sales, right? For example, let's say I've got a KPI of I want to hit 50 appointments a month, and I'm messaging 1,000 people a month, and then for some reason I can't hit it. If I have this stage of initiated conversation, interested replies, candle link sent, appointment actually booked in, and then sales call closed, like I'm going to know where the bottlenecks are, okay, and where to fix it and how to manipulate my stats better. So for example, like with women, it's the same thing. Like if you're not getting any like dates with cold approach, then you're going to be able to see where the problem is. Now, please don't actually use this sheet. I'm just trying to highlight how funny it is, how similar women and dating and dating and sales and appointment setting and sales are largely similar. Okay, so there you go. A little bit of a silly video for you guys, but I hope you can see my point. Like, sales is so largely similar to dating. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, and that's just clear proof. And appointment setting specifically with this tracking sheet, like just likening it to cold outreach to cold approaching women, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. So there you go. Listen, so I am an appointment setting coach. I coach people on how to start appointment setting, make a respectable high ticket income with it, and become AI proof, because most coaches don't teach you that, and it's something you do need to worry about. I've made well over 6 figures with it. I've worked with people like Charlie Morgan and William Brown, and I'm pretty damn good at appointment setting, and also helping people land roles like this too. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how to do it yourself, there's going to be a link down below in the description, right? And there's going to be a link to booking a call. What I want you to do is book in that call, and I'll run you through how I can help. Full transparency, if you book in that call, it's designed to try and sell you something. So if you don't want to be sold to, then don't click it, right? But if you're not, if you're actually serious about making this work, and you actually want to do this correctly, then I strongly advise you booking the call, okay? But if you're not that serious, don't worry, it's fine. I'm not going to hold against you. I don't really care. But there you go. A bit of a silly video. I hope it helped. And it it helped me understand how much you can liken sales to most things. It's not just women dating that you can do this with. There's so many other things too. Sales is life, guys. And I hope you can see why learning how to sell is such an important skill. So there you go. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.